I never thought it would be a complete stranger who'd be the one to tell me my marriage was over. It all started with an anonymous email. No subject line, no signature. Just a single, blunt sentence. Your wife is cheating with someone named Tyler. You should pay more attention. I just stared at the screen, frozen. One question kept looping in my head. Was this some kind of joke? A scam? A weird case of mistaken identity? There were no attachments, no links, no threats. Just a handful of words that somehow made my heart drop a beat. My first reaction was denial. No way. Madison would never do something like that. We'd been together for almost 9 years, married for 7. Not perfect, but who is? We still cooked dinner together some nights. We still kissed goodbye in the mornings. We still had that little routine of saying goodnight before turning off the lights. But then, this little voice in my head spoke up. Something vague. Something I had pushed down for far too long. You know something's off. You're just pretending not to see it. I didn't reply to that email. I didn't say anything to Madison either. I just closed my laptop and sat there in the dark. And now here I am, a few weeks later, writing out my own story. One I used to think only happened to other people. Not to complain, not to rage. Just to get it out of me. Because maybe someone else reading this just got a message like I did. And they're wondering if their life is about to get turned upside down. As for me, I've already lived through that turn. And this is how it all started. After that first email, I started paying more attention. Lately, Madison had been going on work trips more often than usual, mostly to Seattle. She said they were media industry conferences, important networking events she couldn't afford to miss. I never questioned it. Her job had always been demanding, and I believed everyone deserved their own space. But then all these little things started coming together, painting a picture I couldn't ignore. She changed the password on her phone. She stopped leaving it charging on the kitchen counter like she used to. Now it was always with her, even when she went to the bathroom. Her work trips suddenly aligned with weekends, and every time she left, she packed with an unusual level of care, new clothes, new perfume, even her makeup style looked different. Our sex life became distant. Not cold exactly, just detached, like she was going through the motions instead of actually being present. I tried telling myself it was stress, work, maybe age catching up to us. But that same quiet voice in my head whispered again, "Stop making excuses." There were times she went out and turned off her phone because it died. But then she'd post on Instagram an hour later. Her eyes grew colder, but her voice stayed soft, still telling me she loved me, still asking what I wanted for dinner, like she was holding up a perfect front, trying to cover up something breaking underneath. A few days later, I got the second email, from the same anonymous address. This time, it wasn't just a short sentence. The sender attached screenshots. It was a text conversation between Madison and someone saved in her contacts as Tyler, work. I read those messages over and over, feeling something heavy and tight settle in my chest. There weren't any explicit photos, no dirty talk. But it was obvious this wasn't between coworkers. Miss you already. Same hotel as last time. Can't wait to see you again. I didn't reply to the email. I didn't say a word to Madison. That night, she came home right on time, smiled at me like always, asked if I wanted some tea. I nodded. And while she poured the water, I pulled out my phone and created a new folder. Madison. Evidence. I still wasn't 100% sure, but this time I wasn't going to ignore that voice inside me any longer. I started collecting evidence in my own way. No confrontations, no drama, just quiet observation, taking mental notes. I knew Madison had changed her phone password about a month earlier. She didn't say anything, and I didn't ask. Back then, I still believed everyone was entitled to privacy, but ever since that email, I'd been watching more closely. Every little gesture suddenly felt like a piece of a bigger puzzle. One night, she dozed off on the couch after a couple glasses of wine. Her phone was right there on the coffee table. The screen was off, but a notification had just popped up. I tapped it gently, locked, of course. Required a passcode. I wasn't going to risk trying. Instead, I started paying attention to how she unlocked it. In the mornings, she'd set it on her vanity while she did her hair or played music. I'd sit behind her, pretending to read the news, while my eyes followed the movement of her fingers. It took 3 days. 2607, her mother's birthday. That night, while she was asleep, I installed a phone tracker app, the kind parents use to monitor their kids. I wasn't trying to read every word she typed, just wanted to know where she was, when, and what websites she'd been on. I also added software to recover deleted files. At first it looked like nothing much, but then I opened her recently deleted photo folder, a string of selfies in hotel lighting, a dress I'd never seen before, a glass of red wine. No other faces in the frame, but none of it looked like it was meant for me. In her travel history, I found a recurring booking, the Fairmont Olympic Hotel, Seattle. 3 stays in the past 2 months, always 2 nights, always during the conferences or client meetings. Paid with the secondary credit card, the one I'd added her 2 years ago. Still, I didn't say a word. I saved everything. Every photo, every confirmation email, every IP address used to send messages while she claimed to be on the plane. All of it filed under Madison. Evidence. A week later, I got a 3rd email, but this one was different. The sender signed her name, Claire Mason. She introduced herself as Tyler's wife. Tyler, the old coworker of Madison's I'd briefly met at some company party. Claire said she'd been tracking their affair for 3 months after stumbling on a suspicious chat thread on her husband's iPad. She didn't reach out to me out of anger. She was looking for an ally. Attached to her email were photos of Tyler and Madison holding hands as they left a hotel, screenshots of Tyler's credit card bills from dinners in Seattle, and a hotel receipt with 2 rooms booked on the same night, both under one contact name. She ended the email with a single line. "I think it's time. Let's catch them together." I must have read that sentence a dozen times. This wasn't suspicion anymore. This wasn't intuition. This was real. This was truth. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel adrift. I felt sharp, cold, clear, like a freshly sharpened blade. Madison told me she had another media conference coming up in Seattle. 3 days, from Thursday to Sunday. The venue, a 5-star hotel downtown, the Fairmont. I nodded, didn't ask questions. Even wished her a good trip. She gave me a small smile, a little surprised, then turned to pack her things. A part of me, honestly, felt calm. Maybe because I already knew too much. All that was left was the right moment. Claire and I flew to Seattle a day early. She handled the room booking. Different floor, same hotel. Everything was set up carefully, quietly, like some kind of field operation. Claire had a connection at the front desk, someone she used to work with at another hotel. Thanks to that, we got access to their room without breaking any laws or doing anything sketchy. I sat in the lobby near the bar, sipping a cold cup of black coffee. Hat low, sunglasses on, dark jacket, just enough to blend in. I wanted to see it with my own eyes. I wanted to see the way Madison would look walking into a hotel with a man who wasn't her husband. Around 6:15 p.m., they showed up. Madison rolled a small suitcase behind her, her other hand locked with Tyler's. He was wearing a polo shirt, grinning like it was just another Friday. She leaned into him like it was the most natural thing in the world. They approached the front desk, completely unaware someone was watching them. I watched them check in. Madison's hand never letting go of his. To anyone else, they were just a couple on a weekend getaway. I didn't feel pain anymore, just cold. Later that night, Claire got a text from her front desk contact. Room 726 just ordered a bottle of red wine, the same one as before. I waited another 30 minutes. It was 8:27 p.m. when I stood in front of room 726, card in hand. Claire was beside me, silent. No tears, no trembling. We just looked at each other. I took a breath, not deep, just enough to move forward. It felt like even my lungs didn't trust this moment, but we both knew. We were here to take back control. I slid the card in. Green light. The door clicked open. For a split second, all I heard was the soft thud of pillows hitting the floor, the familiar scent of her perfume mixed with wine and sweat. Madison was lying there, fully exposed. Tyler was scrambling, reaching for a shirt near the foot of the bed. Everything went into slow motion. Madison turned her head and saw me. I'll never forget that look. Shocked, panicked, and completely exposed in every possible way. She grabbed the sheet, her mouth moving, but no words came out. Tyler froze, clutching his shirt but not wearing it yet. I didn't say anything. I just lifted my phone and took 3 photos, clear enough to show their faces, the room, and enough that no one would ever need a single word of explanation. Then I looked directly at Madison, and her eyes, they didn't show guilt, just fear. Fear of being caught. I said one sentence, quiet, even, don't come back. Then I turned and walked out. Never looked back. Claire stepped in behind me, the door closed, and I heard her voice, calm, sharp, each word deliberate. I didn't stay to listen. I didn't care what they had to say. It was over the moment I saw her hand in his at the hotel lobby. I stepped into the elevator. No rage, no tears, just one absolute truth echoing in my chest. This was the end. I got back home on Saturday morning. Early flight, the sky still foggy. I hadn't slept all night, but I wasn't tired either. It felt like my body had switched into survival mode, just doing what needed to be done. No thoughts, no emotions. First thing I did when I got home was change the locks. Called a locksmith that same morning. Then I gathered up all of Madison's stuff, clothes, makeup, books, even the little kitchen items she liked to keep around. I didn't break anything, didn't destroy a single thing. I just packed it all neatly into 3 cardboard boxes and had them shipped to her sister's house. I left a small note inside. No explanation, just 4 words. She knows why. Before Madison had the chance to twist the narrative, I sent an email to both sides of the family, her parents, her brother, and a few close friends we shared. I attached the 3 photos. No extra commentary, just a single line. I wanted you all to know the truth before she tells her version. I blocked Madison's number, deleted her from my contacts, and locked her out of every social platform. Set her email address to autofilter. I didn't want a conversation. I didn't need an explanation. I'd already seen enough, with my own eyes. Her reaction came quickly. The next day, Madison showed up at my doorstep. She was yelling, banging on the door, crying that I misunderstood everything, that it only happened once, that I was partially to blame for being too distant, for not caring enough. She sobbed, begged, pleaded to talk. I stood inside behind the curtain, watched, never stepped out. Eventually, she left. But it wasn't a retreat. What followed was a flood of messages from different numbers. Still her voice, just new SIM cards. Some were desperate, some threatening. One night at 2 a.m., I got a long, messy text full of typos and broken sentences, clearly drunk. She said she missed me, said she was outside, begging for forgiveness. Said I was the only one she'd ever truly loved. I didn't reply. 3 days after I'd sent her things off and cut all contact, I got a call from an unknown number. I picked up, thinking it was a work call. But it was Tyler. I recognized his voice immediately. And it sounded nothing like what I expected from the guy who'd snuck around with my wife. No arrogance, no swagger, just a worn-down, cracked voice, like someone dangling over the edge. He said Madison was falling apart, that she needed help. And according to him, I was the only one who could help her. I said nothing, just listened. Tyler told me that right after the hotel incident, Claire, his wife, moved out. No screaming, no tears. She left a handwritten note and signed divorce papers, along with a property list and proof that Tyler had brought Madison to their home while she was away for work. Claire filed for full custody. And for now, Tyler wasn't allowed to see his kids. For Madison, things were even worse. Her company discovered suspicious charges in her travel expense reports. Upon review, they realized she had been falsifying work-related costs to cover her trips with Tyler, hotel stays, dinners, even spa treatments billed under conferences. She was immediately suspended and faced likely termination, along with a demand to repay the misused funds. She tried clinging to anyone left around her. Some friends let her crash for a few nights, but no one kept her long. They said she'd wake up crying in the middle of the night, constantly texting Tyler, sometimes screaming, sometimes just sitting in the corner in silence. Everyone grew exhausted. No one could handle her state for more than a few days. When Tyler couldn't take it anymore, he called me. Maybe he thought if not out of love, then at least out of duty, I'd step in. That I was once the man Madison trusted. That I used to love her. The irony was staggering. The man who slept with my wife, who wrecked my 7-year marriage, who forced me to dismantle everything and rebuild my life from scratch. Now calling, not to apologize, but to beg me to help the very person who destroyed my trust. I didn't get angry. I didn't even feel bitter. I just said one thing. You should figure out your own mess before trying to fix someone else's. Then I hung up, blocked the number. I had no interest in playing any role in the tragedy they wrote for themselves. I thought Tyler's call would be the end of it, but it wasn't. It was just the opening act in what turned into a string of increasingly desperate attempts from Madison. A week after that call, I got an email from Madison's old personal address, the one she used before we got married, back when we shared things like streaming accounts and utility bills. The subject line just said, "Please read." I almost deleted it without opening. But I didn't. Not because I was curious, but because I wanted to close this chapter with no loose ends. The email was long. Over 700 words of rambling. No real apology. No actual admission of anything. Just talk about how she was at the lowest point in her life, how everything is falling apart, and how, if I had even a shred of decency left, I should help her one last time. She asked me for money, a few $1,000s. She didn't say exactly how much, just kept repeating lines like, "I promise I won't bother you again," and "just this once, and I'll disappear." I deleted the message and went to bed. That's when her family started reaching out. First her mom, then her sister, then an aunt who used to treat me like one of her own. They all said the same things. Madison's truly sorry. She's lost everything. We're just hoping you'll have a little compassion and give her a chance to make things right. I didn't argue. I didn't try to explain. I wasn't about to retell the whole story one more time. I did just one thing. I sent them the 3 hotel photos. No caption, no explanation. Just 3 frames that said more than any paragraph ever could. A truth Madison had walked into, fully, willingly, and in silence. After that email, the messages stopped. No more calls. No more, "Please talk to her." I found out Tyler was no longer in the picture. Claire messaged me. Apparently, he'd requested a transfer to a smaller branch in Portland, somewhere far from anyone who knew what went down. And less than a month later, he was posting dinner photos and weekend trips with a new woman, a young blonde from the marketing team at his new office. Claire sent me screenshots from the girl's Instagram. The account was public. No photos of Tyler directly, just the back of a head, 2 hands clasped together, wine glasses touching. But it didn't take much to connect the dots. Tyler disappeared from Madison's life almost overnight, and she couldn't handle it. In the texts Madison sent to Tyler, ones Claire still had access to through an old iCloud sync, she begged, screamed, threatened, and pleaded in cycles. "I gave up everything for you. You can't leave me like this. At least talk to me like a human being." Tyler never replied. To him, Madison had become a reminder of a chapter he desperately wanted to erase. She was the partner in his downfall, but not someone he was willing to go down with. When he walked away, Madison had no one left to hold on to. She lost her job. Her family was ashamed. Her friends distanced themselves. And the only person she could still picture clearly in her mind was me. But what Madison didn't understand was this. When a man has to pick up the shattered pieces of himself after betrayal and rebuild his life from the ruins on his own, he's no longer the same man she once knew. I moved to San Diego in early fall. The new job was at a healthcare data startup, smaller than my old company, but fast-paced, full of potential, and most importantly, no one there knew me as the guy who got cheated on. I wasn't a victim in that office. I was just a guy starting over. I rented a small apartment about a 10-minute walk from the beach. On move-in day, I assembled my desk by myself, hauled boxes of books up to the third floor, and made my first dinner with instant noodles and a soft-boiled egg. No housewarming party. No friends helping out. Just me, a cold beer, and a strange sense of lightness. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was carrying the weight of someone else's expectations. I started waking up earlier, got into the habit of drinking black coffee at a little corner cafe down the street, walked through the park each morning, hit the gym 3 times a week. Evenings were for podcasts, books, and sometimes a short meditation before bed. Not to forget, but to remember clearly who I am and what I've walked away from. I changed my phone number too, quietly severing the last threads tying me to my old life. No more Madison, no more Tyler. No more surprise calls from people trying to drag me back into something I've already left behind. Every now and then, I'd still get a message from Claire, not to stir things up, just little updates from the other side of a war we both once fought through. The last one was short. Tyler just got his visitation rights reduced, cheated on the new girl, in debt from some trash crypto scheme. I read it and left it unread. Didn't feel happy, didn't feel sorry, just grateful. Grateful that I got out when I did. I don't wait for karma anymore. I don't need to see people get what they deserve to feel okay. I just want peace, and I have it now. I'm not exactly sure when I started to feel okay again. I just remember one November morning. It was a little chilly out, and I was sitting at my usual cafe, watching steam rise from my cup of coffee, when I realized I hadn't thought about Madison in a while. Not that I'd forgotten, but the weight of it, the grief, the betrayal, wasn't dragging me under anymore. I still remember every detail. But now it feels like an old movie, one I've watched, cried through, gotten angry at, and then walked out of when the credits rolled. I'm no longer stuck in that theater. One Saturday afternoon, I was standing in line at the grocery store when I dropped my wallet. The person who picked it up was a woman, probably in her 30s. Black hair, brown eyes, wire-frame glasses, and a smile that made you feel at ease almost instantly. She handed me the wallet and said, "You should keep it in your jacket pocket. Pants pockets are risky." Just a simple comment, but then we started chatting. About salad, about the cafe across the street. And then, without thinking too much, I offered to buy her a coffee. Not because she was special, not because I was searching for anything, just because, for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel afraid to open up to someone new. I didn't tell her about the betrayal, didn't mention the Madison evidence folder, didn't talk about that night in the Seattle hotel room. I didn't want to carry old baggage into a new journey. I wanted to show up as the version of me that had broken, had healed, and was no longer stuck in the past. We saw each other a few more times. No big promises, no rushing into anything. Just 2 grown adults, sitting across from each other, sipping coffee, and feeling a little bit lighter each time. And honestly, I think that's enough. Enough to know that even the most shattered parts of your life can be rebuilt, that not everyone will betray you. And that peace, when it finally comes, doesn't make noise, but it stays. Enough to know that the things that once fell apart can be built again, that not everyone will betray you, and that peace, quiet as it may be, has a way of staying for a very, very long time.